Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Tell the Truth and Shame the Devil. I'm Jillian Bernard, your host. As always, you can catch me right here on Facebook Live or whenever I am available. We appreciate you tuning in each and every day and being a part of this program. We hope and pray that you would tell a friend to tell their friend to tune in make up this show, and I appreciate you for everything that you do. If you appreciate the show, you know what to do down there at the bottom. And I was talking to a friend, and he said he was listening to the show, and he told me, man, if you got friends out there that are listening to you, ask them to subscribe. Don't care what these other folks say. And I do what I do and appreciation for you to give you the information. But if you would like to, hey, hit the subscribe button, go to the Facebook page, hit that like button, donation button, whatever you want to do is fine with me. And I want you to know, foremost, I appreciate you for being a part of this. Got the report from December to the December 5th to January 1st, 94,400 and some people over the World Wide Web have been listening to us. And you tune in and see what our subject is. Some of you stay longer than others, but we do appreciate you if you just stop by and hit the like button, stop by, hit the subscribe button, do whatever you think that you ought to do as it relates to what we bring to you. You know what we do here. We talk business, legal, social, whatever affects you in this community, we will talk about it. You know what? I threw out a subject on yesterday, and boy, did you all go wild. Uh, you went wild on this subject, and still, some more of you are still talking about it. As I listened and watched today, I saw where you were still talking about the subject that I threw out there. It reminds me to tell you, you want to be a part. You would have just called in on this subject and tell me what you think about it. The question that I asked, and we got into it. I did a little research on it, and we'll talk about that as well. I asked the question, should all elected officials in Memphis be drug tested? In lieu of what that clown, Representative Antonio Touche, they call him Parkinson, hey, brought up the fact that you should grow marijuana in your backyard. And a lot of you made some comments in regard to his direction as to who you think he is or how foolish you think he is in regard to making it. But then again, I said we got some potheads out there that smoking that stuff, been smoking it for a long time, and hey, they all for it. You know, they talk about how stupid can one state be. Talking about Memphis, yeah, excuse me, versus other states that have approved medicinal marijuana. Talk about California, Colorado. Well, I always said, and my grandmother used to ask me when I was out doing something, and I said something that was crazy. She used to say, if your friends jump off a bridge, would you do it too? At the time, I would say, no, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it now, jumping off anybody's bridge. But that was a subliminal message that she was giving to me saying, don't be foolish enough to follow other people when you know they can do something that's detrimental to you or just foolish in um, general. And that's what I threw out. I say it to you. No, just because California, just because Colorado, just because other states are doing something, do that make it right for you to do it? And I put out there, and I say this, we are slowly decaying our generations to come behind us uh, with all of this craziness that exists. Some think now it's better to get into a drive-by carjack. That's the quickest way of making money as opposed to getting a job and working 20 or 40 hours a week, sometimes 60 hours, and make your way. I did it for many years. I did it for many years, over 50 years. I did it. I punched the clock until I got to the point that I said I can do better than punching the clock for somebody else. And I made up in my mind to be able to be the boss, to be able to run my own business because I'm sitting here doing things for others, making them well off, doing things for a very long time, and I do not have a problem with that. I thank God for certain journeys that I have traveled on in my day. I appreciate everything I've done, and I'm appreciative, first of all, let me say this, for being able to see another year. We are now in 2026, and I think that I will, and made up in my mind, I don't know what your New Year's resolution is, but mine is to be better than I was last year, to do more to help others than I did last year, to pray for the foolishness and the foolish ones who are making foolish decisions. Those are the type of things that I want to do in 2026. I said also to myself, you thought I was something as it relates to bringing, tell the truth, to shame the devils in this city. You haven't seen anything yet, ladies and gentlemen, in 2026. And I can tell you without a doubt, when I ask the question, I can tell you without a doubt, do our elected officials need to be drug tested? I can tell you without a doubt, there are some elected officials that if you give them a drug test today, they would test positive, without a doubt. Elected officials do not want you to know what they're doing. And I went and did a little research on that issue. As a matter of fact, if you want to call me and just say yes, no, I'll just mark it down. And I see what it is. A lot of you say yes, that a bill should be passed where you can grow marijuana in your backyard for your purposes. Now, if you think for a minute that you have the power to grow marijuana in your yard and you just go smoke it for yourself, you a boo-boo the fool. Because that same crackhead, that same marijuana pothead smoker, he gonna smoke it, but yet he's gonna sell it as well. He gonna make a business out of it, and crime will go up higher because I'm telling you, marijuana is a stepping stone to other drugs. Some people say, "Hey, I've been drinking and smoking marijuana all my life, never used any other drug." That's just a myth. That is a stepping stone to something harsh. Well, I don't believe it's all the time. When we put it out there, we're going to end up in a turmoil when it comes to legalization, in my opinion. Now, I said this on yesterday, day before yesterday. I was telling you that they are saying that there's and they're in pain. That's a whole different ball game. You're smoking it just to be smoking it, just to get behind the wheel and say, I'm going to run to the store. I just uh, cooked up, warmed up some of this marijuana, and I took a couple of joints before I left the house. You are driving under the influence. You're going to weave and you're going to bob and you're going to hear them lights and see them lights in your rear view mirror, and there you are. What they say, hey, it's legal, but you're under the influence. That's still like a DUI, driving while under possession or marijuana. That's a charge. Well, because they legalized it, it's still a charge. They got to legalize alcohol, but you can't drive drunk. It's a DUI. Using the thing that would alter your brain, alter your ability to function safely, you are under the influence. And you think 43,000 tickets have been issued since the task force been here. You think that's something? You legalize marijuana and see what happens. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that would be under the influence. Now, people would say, well, that's maybe a good thing because that's a tax revenue, that's a tax bracket. You can supply the courts, and the courts can supply the county with funds and fines. See, it's a madness to all of these things that are going on in our community, and we don't realize it. It's a madness to the red light when they ticket you for running a red light. You remember when they didn't ticket you for doing it, you just got ended up with the result of doing that, whether it was an accident or whatever. But somebody with their so-called brilliant mind decided that they would do the red light. So you run a red light. If you ever at Poplar and Howland, one of the main ones where a whole lot of people get tickets on their way downtown, and they take that photograph of you going through that light. That's another tax bracket. That's another way of raising revenue when they already raise your taxes. So they got all of these different things out here to take you, Peter, take from Peter to pay Paul by way of taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to wake up in 2026. Let's get into it. 901 288 5779. 901 288 5779. Yes, thank you so much there, uh, Joanne. Appreciate Miss Kelly. Appreciate you joining us. What do you think, Miss Kelly? Tell me, do you think that is yes or no when it comes to uh, allowing to pass a bill that will say you can smoke your marijuana for municipal purposes and you can grow it in your backyard? Would you be for that or would you be against that? And those who are listening to me, you can post it and just say yes or say no. And then I can look at you right now and see whether you're for it or not. Or if you just want to call me, all you have to do is just call this number 901-288-5779 and just say yes. Hang up the phone. Call and say no. Hang up the phone. I'm not going to ask you any question unless you ask me one. Feel free to call and give your opinion because we want to know what's going on, Miss Joanne. We want to know uh, how people feel in regard to that. Miss Joanne just said to me, she's against it. Mm, that's a no. I appreciate you. If you want to call and just say yes or no, call that number. It should be on the screen, but if not, it's 901-288-5779. Uh, Colorado has made many issues since the legalization uh, of it. Okay. Uh, I'm going to try to move some of these things out of my way so I can see here. Yeah, Colorado has had many issues since they legalized it. Colorado with a lot of issues, and I can imagine the issues that they have had in regard to that. But what do you think? Let me know. Because I think right now we got bad politicians, and you get a law like that, it'll be a bad situation. And you talk about Colorado with the issues. Look at the issues that we already have, ladies and gentlemen, in Memphis, Tennessee. We still hang in there as the most violent city in America. I read on uh, 990 blog, the Mighty 990 uh, blog, where they said on their Facebook page, where they said that your mayor, Paul Young, says that, and y'all check this out. Paul Young said the crime has come down because of him and C.J. Davis. I took issue to that. This crime did not come down because of you. Because if the crime came down because of you and C.J. Davis, why did we need the task force? You want to take credit, Paul Young, for what is happening and how Memphis is being turned around in regard to the present. And there are folks out there, y'all listen to this. There are folks out there who agree with it. Oh yeah, Paul Young done a good job. C.J. Davis doing a good job. They turning it around. Come on. If you think that you boo-boo the food, something has to be wrong with you to even listen to a politician that will say that. But let's get back to these politicians. I asked a question, I Googled it and said to Google, uh, in so many words, and I forgot how I paraphrased, I phrased it saying that would it be legal to request that all elected officials be drug tested? And it came back with the Fourth Amendment dealing with uh, illegal search and seizure. And as I read that, I looked at what the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court, as it relates to uh, a decision that came before them, and they came out and said that it would be against the Fourth Amendment to ask a elected official to take drug tests. Now, to me, in my opinion, when they drafted the Fourth Amendment, those individuals back there must have been high, and they knew that we got to put this clause in here because uh, it would protect us. Because back in the day, that they were probably smoking that marijuana. They were probably smoking uh, that cocaine or whatever it was back then. But they threw that in there to protect them. But before those who would say, I knew it, don't get too happy. It also said that if a community comes together and decide this is what they want on the book, that their elected official can be tested, then it can happen. But you, as individual, ought to have the concern that I have in 2026. The concern I have is too many bad decisions from the school board to Nashville to the city council to the county commission. I have studied and watched too many bad decisions that have been made to let me think or to know that something is not right with the leadership. So the question came up that should elected official be drug tested? Some of you said absolutely, yes, 100%. I agree with you. They got to be smoking something. And I can tell you without a doubt that there are a percentage of elected officials that are either smoking marijuana or doing something stronger than marijuana and making the decision on you. In 2026, anybody that comes here, and they probably won't come because people are going to say, hey, don't go on James Bernard's show, because if you do, the first thing he's going to ask you is that if you elected, would you agree to do a drug test uh, quarterly, every 6 months? Do you think they would come on this show to be asked that question? If you come on this show and you're running for sheriff, or you come on this show and you running for county mayor, that's a question I'm going to ask you, Mr. So and so, Miss So and so. You running for county mayor? Would you be in agreement to take a drug test every quarter, every 6 months? Well, I got a lot of things to do. I don't think I would have time. Yes, you got time. All you got to do is take the cup, pee in the cup. And I did it periodically when I worked for the sheriff department. They did those spot checks. They have individuals. They would come and say, "Hey, come go with me." You go with them with the cup, pee in the cup. They come back and tell you whether you were positive or negative. If you were positive, then they gave you the opportunity to become negative, and then they'll come back and see if you was positive again. I never failed one. And many times they gave me, because I was asking legitimate questions, they probably wanted to make sure, hey, Bernard is smoking something because he got his finger in our eye. All he talking about is the injustice when it came to white deputies versus black deputies. Matter of fact, let me welcome in, and I know you all are listening, to all of my retiree co-workers from the sheriff department, from the Shelby County Retiree uh, website. We had an interesting conversation with some of them in regard to who I am and what I was and how I was as a sheriff deputy. Some was good, some was negative. And you know, I told you I go positive when you positive. I can go negative when you get negative. We did. We had a decent conversation. But it's one of those conversations that we had that we can disagree without being disagreeable. But if you want to be disagreeable, hey, I can go disagreeable all day long. I can be positive all day long. It is about us understanding what's right versus what's wrong. Job applicants are often required to pass drug tests after receiving a offer from employer. Why is a similar requirement applies to individual filing or holding public office? Yes, Joanne, I agree with you. I agree with you. You go to Amazon, and I Google Amazon. Amazon requires a drug test. You're working in there, and they say anybody in public service, driving a bus, anybody that's law enforcement, all of those will be given random drug screen. But my problem, Joanne, is this: is when you look and see someone who's making million upon $1 million of decision whether to raise your tax and he's smoking crack, or to raise your tax and they smoking marijuana. I'm saying to you right now, I would bet you whatever we wager that right now, if we go down the line giving elected officials from the judge's bench, and you know that's been proven because we lost the judge because she was on that cocaine, and that says to me that's an individual like any other individual who had a flaw within herself while serving as judge not long but on the bench. So you're saying that to me that the individual you let as judges don't have flaws? Why not find out? They're making life and death decisions, sending people to life in prison while you sitting there, if you're doing it, smoking marijuana, using crack cocaine like the other judge did, who no longer a judge. If you're doing some of the things and you just hadn't gotten caught, you're just as bad as the judge that did it. You know the old thing they used to say, a lot of presidents do a lot of underhanded stuff, but Richard Nixon just got caught. So if that's the case, any president that's elected is no better than Richard Nixon because we all as human beings have flaws. But it's up to you in your mind whether you decide to fall for the flaw. I have always been an athlete all my life. Drinking, the coaches said marijuana usage, they said was not a part of the team. If you use that, you could not be a part of the team. I always wanted to be a part of the team. It was not a part of my life. Never have and never will be. I'm 73 years old now. If I'd done without it, doing it all of these years, I would continue not to do it. Stressed it to my children. They understood it. But they grown and they gone, and I don't know what they're doing, but I think I have enough confidence that they're smart enough. Their mother and I, we didn't smoke. Uh, and they don't smoke as far as I know it because it was what they saw us not doing that they patted themselves after that. And I can appreciate that. I can love them for not doing that. But the bottom line is elected officials, in my opinion, should be tested. Now, if you think that's strongly enough, my next question comes, do you want to see if we can pass that? If that can come of it. It'll be a hard task. I'll tell you that right now. It'll be a hard task, but at least you would know that the person who's sitting on that bench or the person that's in the high back chair in the city council, state house, or the county commission, the city mayor's office, the county mayor's office, you would have it if it's getting quarterly or 6 months. I would say 6 months because in 6 months you still can determine whether you're smoking or not, whether it's by hair sample. And like I said, I was in the business for 28 years as a probation officer, was tested as it relates to the sheriff's department for those years that I was there and was tested. Never failed the test because I was not weak enough to fall for that type of behavior. But there's a lot of people who out there that are falling for that behavior. Uh, Lisa Arnold, God bless you. Thank you for giving your opinion. Shelby County does a drug test when you're hired. They should be required to do random drug testing on all employees while they are employed. I will agree with that. To me, think about this. And Lisa, you bring up that point, and Joanne, you bring up that point. What if you working side by side with a joker that you don't know he or she is doing crack? All of a sudden, you working, they jumping, they go to talking to themselves. You looking at the corner of your eye, what the hell wrong with her? Or what's wrong with him? And you don't know that he's sitting there cracking. And he decide that he woke up and that crack got him so bad that I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna mess up everybody. I'm sick of making me work 8 hours a day. That's what his brain is telling him because he's on that crack or he's on that cocaine or he's on doing drugs of any kind. But you working next to him, you wouldn't want to know that your employer drug tested and found out. How many people do you think that put up a gun and just do this? God bless Sandy Hook and all of those other kids. I guarantee you that if you check those individuals that decide to take a rifle, whether it was hatred and the hatred that they had within, the drugs probably brought it forth and they decide to take a rifle and go and kill a bunch of innocent babies. You don't think drug was a part of it? I believe it was. And we lost children that could have been great in this country and done great things for this country. But because of some fool decided he would take a rifle, take a gun, and go and kill up a bunch of people. I guarantee you, if it was not mental illness, it was drug use. We have to do something and think about it. We sit here and pay taxes. Just say what if we paying taxes for people who were smoking marijuana, people who were using drugs, and you're paying the price based on their decisions. Were they high when they voted to bring AI in, or were they just weak? Wondering minds want to know. I want to know. And I would bet you a steak as large as you could eat it that if we test all of the elected officials, you will find a lot of them using marijuana or some type of drug. The percentage, I don't know. I would just say a lot of them. Because look at them. Look at the things they're doing to you as representative. Do you think they have sound minds? I don't. In my opinion, and if this, I throw this challenge out to any elected official that want to prove me wrong, then I welcome you. So I can get drug tests. I can order some. But can you go to a lab, set it up, let a lab come and screen everybody on the council just to prove to the citizens that you're not on drugs? Prove to the citizens that you represent, that you're in your right mind. And to the community that they represent, you ought to want to know whether crackheads and the one that use marijuana, they probably don't want to know. But I want to know. If you're not, then I applaud you. But if you are, well, they say I'm a recreational marijuana smoker. But at this point, it's illegal. I used to know preachers. God rest their soul, many of them are gone. As a young preacher, they could, as they used to say, preach you under the table, meaning that they was good as preachers when it comes to preaching, and hear me, the gospel. This is not what somebody told me. This is what I saw as a young preacher. They were having them a bottle of whiskey, Jack Daniels, whatever. They were getting ready to go to preach the word, but they had to hit a lick off that bottle. And when they got up in that pulpit, they were full of it. But people would say, man, didn't Reverend preach? That was a crutch. He had the knowledge of the word, but he did not have the courage to preach like he preached until he had that hit of that liquor. Oh, many of you know I'm telling the truth. Many of you have sat and passed by preachers and saw preachers, and you said, "What did it smell like?" He had alcohol on his breath. That was his crutch to be able to teach you and bring the word. So you think that elected officials who are human don't have crutches? But wouldn't you want to know? In 2026, I'm going to be asking the body if they will be willing, because we as concerned citizens want to know. If they say no, then you know right then something is fishy. It's something going on with our elected officials, in my opinion. I'm Jennings Bernard. You know the number 901-288-5779. They said the issue has been brought up before, but it has been always voted down. Nobody wants to deal with that issue. But I'm saying, due to the fact we got any and everybody that want to run for office for a paycheck, run for office to be known, the recognition, run for office for the power, then let us make it a part of the requirement that you be drug tested before you can run for office. Pick up your application, but before you certify, you have to be drug tested. How many people do you think that won't be able to pull a petition if they have to be drug tested before they? Joanne, you said before budget season, before budget season, before they get in here and go to taxing us and saying we need this, but then at the end of the day, Joanne, we come up with a deficit. I believe they're gonna have a deficit. They came in this administration with a $77.7 million deficit from the previous administration, and nobody wants to ask anything about it. Something is wrong with that. I would not take a church over unless I did an audit by way of the financial secretary, the treasurer. What do we have in the treasury? What uh, did we do in previous administration before? Uh, are we in the hole, or what do we have? That's what leaders do. You don't become the mayor of a city and take a $77.7 seven deficit and don't even address it. You just go to taxing people. You wanted a 75-cent raise. You got 49%. Then you went downtown and said, well, we need the rest to beautify downtown. And you got your 75%. What happened, Paul Young? Are you going to ever, Paul Young? Y'all tell him I said this. Said, Jennings Bernard said that, are you ever going to address the deficit that was there when you got there? Or are you going to continue to tax us? Think about the 2% that they said that they didn't have to get a fireman, but eventually they gave it to them after their 3% and they got their 5%. What if you found who got it and where the $77.7 million? Well, you could have gave the firemen their 2%. You could have gave the police whatever percentage. You could have gave employees the percentage, a certain amount. There is money missing. And where is the money at? Something is mighty fishy that's going on. But in this year, during this time, politicians, I'm telling you now, you're going to have to answer some questions or you're just going to have to dodge them. And if you don't answer the question and you dodge them, we're going to tell the truth. And we're going to shame these devils because that is the assignment that I have. That the day of playing with us as citizens and taxpayers who function, make this government function, those days are over. And I'm going to ask the question. I'll call you personally because I ain't got nothing but time. I'm retired. Can sit here talking to you like I'm doing now. Can talk to you from my office here. Call and see what is your position, Councilwoman Cooper. Do you think that we ought to be drug tested as a representative, elected representative? Do you think? Yes or no? Uh, Chairman, Budget Chairman Carlisle, of the Carlisle family name that own the Carlisle Group, that's going to eventually own your hotel that you paid for, and they going to run it. What do you say? Will you be drug tested? If you said no, then I'll come back and let you know. I'm gonna take my time when it's available and just call around and tell them that I need Representative so and so to call me back. This is Jennings Bernard, and I'm calling from Tell the Truth and Shame the Devil. I just want to know, would he be for or against? We'll start off knowing who we need to vote for and who we don't need to vote for on this election. A lot of people, and I think you all saying, don't let these fraternities and sororities, don't let that book, you know, don't let it sway your rational thinking. You know better. Put it in front of you. They know more than you know, and you fall for it. There's nobody but God can change my mind on anything that I think is relevant for me to ask. You can talk all day long. I would have voted no on the AI. Nobody on there, Ricky Smiley or anybody else, could have persuaded me if I was on the council to say something or yes to something that's going to, in the long run, in my opinion, kill you. There's no way. There's no way if I was on the school board that you could have told me that we need to get rid of a superintendent that has changed the dynamics of what was going on in the system, who actually had the love for the children, that I would have voted yes to remove her. No way in God's green earth that you could have persuaded. And I could have stood tall, sit tall, or whatever, and said no. But we got too many weak people that fall for the okie doke. They fall for the 30 pieces of silver, which we call campaign contributions. And once we go to pulling all of the data, the information on who's giving money to who, from what pack, from what individual that's giving the most. You know, I know a guy that just got elected judge that I respect for a long time, know him as a lawyer for a long time. But I saw him sell out. I saw him sell out for 30 pieces of campaign contribution, and he got elected. And to this day, I have no respect for him because I saw what he know I saw. I have no respect for him. I used to have all the respect in the world for him. But when I see you sell your soul to the devil for a position, I have no respect for you. That's just who I am. I'll go to my grave believing what I believe and standing up for what I stand up for. That beautiful lady that's in this house with me, that I've been married to for over 30, 34 years. She know how I am, and she know when I make up my mind about something, as sweet as she is, and wonderful as she is to me and to this relationship that we've had for 34 years, that when I make up my mind about something, that is love. I love her to death. I appreciate it. Everything she is, everything she's about. But when I make up my mind about whatever it is, not necessarily what's in this house, I'm talking about opinion that we get into conversations about. And at the end of the conversation, I said, this is how I feel, and this is what I'm going with. And she said, people have come to her and said, can you talk to your husband about something? She said, no, you go talk to him. Because I know when he made his mind up about whatever it is, you can't turn him around. So she knows well when I make my mind up about something, it is what it is. And see, when we have individuals who can't make their mind up on their own, but are persuaded by ballots, persuaded by 30 pieces of silver to get you to vote for them and put them into office, they're not loyal to you. Look at your community, black community. You ain't got the best of the best representing you. But as I drive down Poplar, I see they get the best of the best representing them. Because those individuals that they represent, if you don't do what they want you to do, or request you to do, or ask you to do, and you don't do it, you out of office. Only in our community, the black community, that we can look at a individual that will lie to you and you vote him back into office. We could look at a hoochie who get in and go on Facebook talking about licking the coochie, and you vote her into office. Something is wrong with that. And you all know who I'm talking about. Y'all saw the video. Somebody sent it to me. I couldn't do nothing but shake my head. See, there's a certain leadership role or a certain attitude or a certain personality or a certain person, how you act as a leader. My folks used to always say when I'm getting ready to go out, I said, boy, remember how we raised you. Remember that you're a Bernard. And while you're out there in the streets, you reflect me and your daddy as to how we raised you. And that was always in the back of my mind. I didn't want to let my father and my mother down because they did so much and sacrificed so much for us, for me to go out and act a fool to make them look bad. And furthermore, too, at that time, if I made them look bad, then you know what got tore up. I wouldn't be able to sit for a few days. So I showed respect. I did the right thing. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Call your representatives. I'm going to call them. And I'm going to come back and tell you whether they're for being drug tested or against. That says that's a key thing for you in your decision making. Even if they don't say, I won't answer, that to me, you're recusing yourself. And I'll come back and say, that person won't answer. Then that says to me that that person has a reason for not wanting to be drug tested. I'm Jennings Bernard, and I really do appreciate you tuning in and being a part of this broadcast. Tell the truth and shame the devil. To all of you, uh, Lisa Arnold, to Joanne Kelly, to all, you all who are out there listening, I want you to think about it. Put this on your Facebook page for me. Ask the same question that I asked. Do you think all elected officials, all of them, should be drug tested? If you have to be drug tested on your job, elected official, that's a part-time job. Some of it is a full-time job, but it's a job. So if we have to be tested, I was tested as a deputy. If you have to be tested as a worker in a factory or warehouse, if you have to be tested as a bus driver, if you have to be tested, why not them? In the words of my grandmother, she used to always say, if it's the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. We'll see you on Monday. You have a blessed, glorious, and safe weekend. And remember something I always said. Trust everyone, but do not trust the devil inside of them. Welcome to 2026. God bless.